For this edition of China Watcher, I have selected an article entitled Only Pyrrhic Victories in a Taiwan War, written by Gabriel Horn-Rada and published on Jan 12, 2023 in Asia Times. The entire focus of this article is a simulation report by Washington-based think tank Center for Strategic and International Studies, which wargamed a 2026 Chinese amphibious invasion of Taiwan. The simulation report concluded with the sobering thought that defending the island nation will come up with staggering costs for the Japan, Taiwan, United States, and of course China. The new CSIS think tank simulation quantified likely US losses. It projected grim casualty figures even in the most optimistic scenario. It noted that the US and Japan combined lost 449 combat aircrafts, 43 ships, including two aircraft carriers, and that the US lost 6,960 personnel with 3,200 killed in action, as the simulation showed. With regard to Taiwan, it lost half its air force, 22 ships, and 3,500 ground troops, with a third of that number killed in action. As far as casualties for China are concerned, China lost 138 ships, 155 combat aircrafts, and 52,000 ground troops. Of China's ground troops losses, the report mentions that 7,000 battle casualties, with a third of that number killed in action. 15,000 troops lost at sea, with half assumed killed, and 30,000 prisoners of war from landing from survivors on Taiwan. In this article, the author says that even behind the US Pyrrhic victory, there are four assumptions. For example, the first one, it says, as China's logistics weaken, Taiwan must hold the line to contain China's beachhead and counterattack in force. Assumption number two, the United States and its allies must understand that there is no quote unquote Ukraine model for Taiwan, since China can blockade the island for weeks or months, preventing the resupply of equipment and supplies to the island nation. Assumption number three, the United States must be able to use its bases in Japan. The bases in Japan, according to the author, are the linchpin of any military operations the United States may undertake in Taiwan. Fourth and final, the US must be able to strike Chinese warships from outside the Beijing's area access and area denial bubble. The report also issues a caution to the United States when it says that a Pyrrhic US victory may ultimately undermine deterrence, with the US losing more than China in the long run. It adds that if China senses that the United States is unwilling to sustain heavy losses, it can risk an invasion of Taiwan. The author then says that this simulation report by the CSIS is in alignment with the similar previous reports. For example, Asia Times has reported on a 2020 simulation by the US Air Force's Warfighting Integration Capability AFWIC Office and RAND, which showed that drone swarms could be decisive in defeating an invasion of Taiwan, projecting that autonomous drone swarms can defeat A to AD strategy that Beijing might deploy against the US forces. The report then also refers to China's evolving cyber warfare capabilities, the potential for cyber attacks and bandwidth limitations, and says uh, that all this will show that drone swarms may not be a war fighting tactic for the United States. The AFWIC simulation in 2020 resulted in a Pyrrhic US victory, foreshadowing the results of CSIS, a more recent simulation. In this article, then author also provides arguments against a Chinese invasion. For example, it says in an August 22 foreign policy article, James Palmer writes that China still believes that it can reunify Taiwan peacefully with coercion and subversion. For example, he says Chinese invested heavily in boosting ties with the opposition KMT party and also with the various organized crime groups within Taiwan. Similarly, Reuters reported in December 2021 that China's spies have extensively penetrated Taiwan's military, undermining its leadership and will to fight and extracting classified information about Taiwan's defense plans and classified weapons. The report also claimed that Chinese spies have even infiltrated the Taiwanese presidential guard. Palmer adds that China is likely aware that invading Taiwan would entail unacceptable costs, as China has not fought a major war since the 1953 Korean War and the catastrophic Sino-Vietnamese War of 1979. Palmer writes that while China may have invested heavily in its military, it has had not an opportunity to test these various capabilities, doctrines, or technologies in a war situation. This assessment aligns with expert opinion from July 22 CSIS discussion about Chinese military logistics. The CSIS experts noted that China is still deficient in uh, logistically transporting an invasion force across the Taiwan Strait and has tried to supplement its military logistics using civilian shipping companies. The CSIS experts have also noted that while China has come up with numerous novel war-fighting doctrines such as quote-unquote intelligentized warfare using AI and other advanced technologies, China has no established traditional military doctrine to fall back in case its Taiwan's adventure flounders. Palmer mentions that any Chinese invasion of Taiwan would bring on a direct military clash with the United States, and that such a showdown would even include a nuclear escalation. He adds that the reputational, economic, and political costs of an invasion of Taiwan, which would result in heavy sanctions imported on Chinese entities that curtail China's access to key Western markets. In a December 2022 article for CSIS, Jude Blanchett notes that an invasion of Taiwan would likewise be a Pyrrhic victory for China as well. Blanchett says that even without a US intervention, an invasion of Taiwan by China would dramatically and negatively affect Beijing's exports, financial markets, and business sentiment and currency exchange rate. Moreover, Blanchett notes that In the event of a US intervention, most of the fighting will happen adjacent to China's most populous and economically vital provinces, which would most likely not be spared the carnage. He adds mm, the Taiwan's that Asia Times has also reported Taiwan's secret missile arsenal that can hit China's major population centers, including Beijing and Shanghai, which would stoke a widespread backlash against any war on the island. Blanchard even says that if China were to occupy Taiwan, it would face a hostile population, a shattered economy, and substantial diplomatic consequences, all of which may raise the cost of occupation to unacceptable levels. Then he says that Asia Times has also reported on a possible US quote unquote scorched earth strategy for Taiwan, wherein the US aims to blow up Taiwan's prized semiconductor fabs in the event of an invasion to prevent their capture by the invading Chinese forces. The destruction of these facilities, according to the author, will cripple China's war effort as China depends heavily on Taiwan's semiconductor industry for critical civilian and military applications. Moreover, the resulting economic damage could potentially threaten the Chinese Communist Party's hold on power. And with this, I conclude this edition of China Watcher. Thank you for your time.